two new summonses to appear before the State Capture Commission in January and February. The Commission has also petitioned the Constitutional Court to declare Zuma's defiance unconstitutional and in contravention of the Commissions Act. Now, to talk to us about what this means for the former president, we're joined by Advocate Musima Rasisimola, Director at Musima Legal and also a lecturer at TUT. A very good morning to you, Advocate. Thank you so much for your time. Zondo says Zuma will face the full might of the law and he will ask the Court to compel him to testify. What is at stake here?
Well, what primarily the Commission is asking is that the Constitutional Court take into cognizance the remedial action of the public protector, which is essentially what established this entire commission of inquiry. And after having considered that and the imperative or the constitutional obligation on the part of the president to account for his use of his public power during his term of office, the Constitutional Court should then compel him to therefore appear before the commission. But of course, with regards to questions of compellability of witnesses, there are sort of common law principles in terms of how such compulsion can happen, and also reasons why a witness could not appear before such. But remember, what the commission also did is that they want it to be declared unlawful. His walking out of the commission in November on the 19th. So there's also the question of criminal sanction that could follow immediately after that, and the implications thereof.
And what sort of criminal charge would this be?
Okay, so Rule 12 of the regulations into the establishment of the State of Capture Commission of Inquiry sets out the criminality of sort of not complying with certain requirements for the Commission of Inquiry. So if there is defiance on a part of a witness or some form of instigation of some form of disrespect on the part of those that are functioning as employees for the commission, as well as the chairperson or even the secretary of the commission, then a person could be criminally sanctioned. So the idea is that the commission has rationalized former President Jacob Zuma's walking out as a form of offense that is established in terms of those regulations. And then in terms of that offense, the sanction could be an imprisonment of up to 6 months or a fine that is deemed suitable by a judicial forum that would be adjudicating that matter.
How much leeway does the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo have here in ensuring that the former president does indeed testify, and that testimony, will we know for sure that the former president will be able to, or willing to give out the information that's needed for the commission to conclude its work? I mean, he could very well come in and say he doesn't remember. So how is it all worth the fuss when it comes to compelling him to testify, and will his testimony be valid or helpful for the commission?
Well, my understanding of the reasons why it is important for Deputy Chief Justice to compel former President Zuma in this way is essentially rooted in the Constitutional Court's own jurisprudence around commissions of inquiry, right? So this is not the first type of commission of inquiry that the Constitutional Court had to decide about. And in each and every instance, whether it was the Mogidiwana case or it was a case pertaining to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or other cases that were developed over time, the Constitutional Court has consistently stated the importance of accountability, or the accountability element, as well as the fact-finding element that commissions of inquiry served. So I think it is the Deputy Chief Justice rationalization that it is important to sort of create a situation where former president, as someone who features prominently in the terms of reference, is then brought in order to feed into the fact-finding objective of the Commission of Inquiry. So I think to that extent, that is what it's about. But also if you consider their application or their urgent application to the Constitutional Court, this whole idea that there are still some rights that President Jacob Zuma reserves, such as once he steps into the witness box, he can still invoke his privilege for against self-incrimination, and also he cannot be compelled if he has a valid reason. So the understanding is that once the Constitutional Court makes a ruling and it's favorable for the Zondo Commission, then the next step will be President Jacob Zuma's ability to advance what could be deemed as a valid excuse or to exercise his privilege against self-incrimination. But in terms of Deputy Chief Justice rationalization, I think what's important for him is to breathe life into the jurisprudence that's already out there in the Concord regarding the work of commissions, but also to exert the remedial actions of the public protector in advancing the work of dealing with the state of capture in state-owned entities and in government or the state at large.
And very lastly, before we let you go, Advocate, what message do you believe that the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo is trying to send here when it comes to ensuring that the credibility of his commission is still there and respected?
I think without any doubt, it's the idea of rule of law and the idea of equality before the law. But also because he's a Deputy Chief Justice and has served in the Apex Court for such a long time, it's also the idea of how everything is tied in under constitutional responsibilities, rights, and obligation for even public officers. I think he's attempting to be very careful to ensure that constitutionalism and adherence to provisions of the Constitution is tied in entirely in the process that is being followed by the Commission of Inquiry. But that it appears that the general perception by the public, especially because the Commission is such a public process, that public confidence is restored in his commission, but also in terms of the judicial process that is involved, that South Africans feel like former President Jacob Zuma is not above the law, and that the commission is doing all that it can to ensure that there is equality before the law.
Very well. Thank you so much. Advocate Musima Rasi Simola, Director at Musima Legal and